That's right, somewhere in between this and last video, I was able to sort out all the problems blocking me from recording New Vegas content. This means that I have a whopping 3 games in my roster, and if you're wondering if I'll be doing Starfield content, I will be addressing that at the end of the video. Now that all of that is out of the way, let's talk about the run. The rules of this one are fairly straightforward. I can only use items that are one of a kind. Now, although what makes an item unique is debatable, for simplicity's sake I will only be using items with a unique name. As soon as I spawned in, I started mashing buttons until I had something for a character, and then assigned my special stats. I focused primarily on strength and agility to get the most of my few weapons, and I also put a few points in perception and intelligence for better aim, as well as more skill points per level. As for my tag skills, I don't exactly remember what I chose for them, but I do believe I chose guns, melee weapons, and speech. And for traits I took heavy-handed for better melee damage, and fast shot. I ended up regretting fast shot throughout the run, but there was nothing I could really do about it. Leaving the doctor's house, I headed straight to the general store to buy a shovel. This is strictly for grave robbing and will serve no other purpose throughout this run. I'm sure you know exactly where I'm going with this, so I was off to the north to do a spot of grave digging. Thankfully, by scaling the local terrain, I was able to avoid getting poked to death by the castors. Unfortunately, I needed to give up my high-end Gradage in order to reach the grave, and when I did manage to do it, I dug it up and took my prize. Chance's knife is a great weapon, especially in early game. That being said, it still wasn't enough to stop the Devil's Children from stabbing me and leaving me with that small little notification informing me I was going to die. The good news is that I don't think the Castadors can make it into Goodsprings, probably so they don't turn the townfolk into their new chew toys, so I was able to hide from them back there. Back in town, I continued the Back in Saddle quest until the part with the bottles. The problem here is that you need to shoot the bottles in order to complete the quest. Now this could be considered cheating, but I decided to bite the bullet, or rather shoot it, and use Sonny's varmint rifle to shoot the bottles. Now although this quest isn't essential, let's face it, I'm not going to have any armor for the first portion of the run, so I think it's fair that I take any early XP that I can get. I then helped the town commit murder, talked to Ringo, and recruited various members of the town into the mob that was building in the center. The poor powder gangers never stood a chance as the people of Goodsprings used them for target practice. I did manage to snag a few kills before the battle was won, but for the most part the Goodsprings gang killed them before I could close the gap between us. After wrapping things up in Goodsprings, I decided to go to Primm next, seeing as this is only my second playthrough, and I wanted to get a bit more familiar with the map. Another benefit of coming to Primm was the XP I could get from both the Souls of the Convicts, as well as the XP for freeing the deputy. Not that I actually managed to free Beagle, as the fact that I had no armor as well as only having a knife for a weapon meant that the convicts could tear right through me with those 9mm pistols of theirs. I tried multiple times to make my way through the hotel, but they killed me every single time. Believe it or not, I actually learned from my mistakes, and I quickly realized Primm was a lost cause, at least for now. I decided the best course of action from here was to head to Novac to get that gun. The trip there was mostly empty, bar a few ants and bark scorpions. I did run into a gang of gackles. I did run into a gang of jackals, who would have mopped the floor with me under normal circumstances. I say this because a mixture of the local ant population as well as New Vegas's broken melee system made killing the heavily armored raiders a walk in the park. Not that this did me any good, seeing as I can't actually use any items they dropped. Oh well, that can't be helped, and I was in Novac before long. As soon as I entered the place, I ran straight to the gift shop and stole that gun. I also took Boone's beret from him, as it is a unique piece of clothing. Me and Boone then recreated that scene from Lord of the Rings where Gollum murders his best friend for the ring, except with the red beret instead of a magic ring. The beret didn't actually do anything, so Boone died for no reason at all. I think I killed Manny Vargas while I was here as well. The only reason I remember this was because he fell on top of Boone, which I found funny for some reason. Before leaving Novac, I sunk to the lowest I ever had to for this run, and murdered old lady Gibson for her shotgun. With my new toys in hand, I felt I was ready to take on the convicts at Primm again. The mixture of my new range capabilities and cool points from the beret were more than enough to clear out the convicts, but to be fair to them, the main reason I was able to come out in one piece was thanks to their leader. For some reason he decided to use his incinerator in the small room where I was at, cooking everyone inside. Unfortunately for the other convicts in the room, they didn't have a vending machine's worth of root beer on them, meaning they couldn't survive the blast. Their leader clearly saw this was a bad idea and stopped using his flamer. He then did the one thing that was more stupid than the indoor flamethrower, and attacked me with his tire iron. This allowed me to easily put him down with that gun, not that I was ever in any real danger considering the first blast from the incinerator seemed to turn Deputy Beagle into Ghost Rider. After restocking at Vicky and Vance's, I made my way to the Mojave Outpost in order to start doing quests for the NCR who I'll be siding with. I started with Ranger Jackson's ant problem. Each ant went down to a couple of slings with Chance's knife, so that quest was basically free XP. Sadly, Jackson only gives a gun that I can't use and some ammo. Ranger Ghost was next on my list, and she will just send me to Nipton to talk to Volpes. While I was there, I shot Oliver Swanwick because he's annoying. Volpes isn't much better, but him and his men would destroy me with their cowboy repeaters. Instead of attempting to kill the legionaries, I talked to them and headed back to Mojave Outpost to report back. A few brief conversations ended up earning me a ridiculous amount of XP, which I spent on lockpick and toughness. I also killed Ranger Jackson while I was there for the 27 357 Magnum rounds he has in his pocket. Now you may think this is bad since I'm siding with the NCR. It's okay though because I put a banana yucca fruit behind him and made it look like he slipped on the banana fruit and died. While I was in the outpost, I decided I needed a few more weapons in my arsenal, the first of which was going to be the Rat Slayer. The cave the rifle was in was infested with rats. Shocking, I know. The rats could easily kill me in a few hits, so I realized the only way I could get the gun was through stealth. The only way I could actually sneak past the rats was by using a stealth boy, so I was somewhat limited on time inside the caves. Ironically, the Rat Slayer would have been the best weapon in the caves, due to its high crit damage and silencer. I would have loved to use the Rat Slayer to kill its namesake, but sadly my stealth boy ran out soon after picking up the rifle, so I had to leave before I got bitten to death. Now all things considered, the Rat Slayer is a good gun. So good in fact that I used it to snipe every NCR soldier in the Mojave Outpost off camera. After committing an unbelievable amount of crime under his nose, I talked to Major Knight so that I could send some soldiers to Prim. This not only puts me in the NCR's good graces, but also netted me a large amount of XP. I also used my high lockpick skill while I was in Prim to get the unique 357 Magnum Lucky. Still wanting to follow the story at least to some degree, I headed to Boulder City next. When I first arrived, I shot Private Kowalski, because I obviously have some sort of vendetta against the NCR. This didn't stop me from killing Jessup and his nameless friend, however. Yes, I probably could have talked my way through the whole situation, but Jessup's bandana is a unique piece of armor, therefore he must die. Neither him or his friends could stand up to the power of my 5 weapons, and before long they all laid dead at my feet. I made sure to kill Jessup with Chance's knife, for the irony of it. Not satisfied with the deaths of the cons at Boulder City, I headed southwest to kill the powder gangers at NCRF. You're supposed to kill the gangers early on, meaning that I was way stronger than I needed to be. The only powder gangers that got close to giving me trouble were the group in the office, whose 9mm machine guns could kill me in seconds. Thankfully my pocket food came in clutch again, and I was able to heal through the onslaught. In the end of the day, this was just a drain of my time and resources, seeing as I didn't even get a good amount of XP from it. After finishing my work with the gangers, I decided it was finally time to progress through the story. This means my next stop was of course the Strip. I decided to walk through Sloan in order to get there. This of course meant I had to go through the Deathclaws and Quarry Junction. I tried multiple times to sneak past them, but they got me every single time. After many attempts that ended in varying degrees of failure, I ended up using my last stealth boy to get past them. Thankfully that was the last major encounter I had, so before long I was at Camp McCarran to sneak my way onto the monorail. The 4 guards on duty got the Kowalski treatment, and it was finally time to enter the Strip. As soon as I was outside of NCR territory, I ran straight to the Tops to deal with Benny. I thought a bit on how I wanted to tackle the Tops, and ultimately I decided to assassinate Benny. I plan on killing the Emertas so I don't have to solve their problems, and I can't be bothered to deal with the White Gloves, so I decided to spare the Tops. Some of the weapons I own have such a ridiculous price to repair, I think it probably would be prudent to have at least one casino as a failsafe. Thinking back, my luck stat was abysmal, so gambling probably wouldn't end well. Back to the matter at hand, it was time to deal with Benny. Now I'm just gonna show you how this fight played out. God, I love this game. After the messiest assassination since Joe Cobb, I figured I'd start doing side quests for the NCR. By that I mean it's time to start killing random fiends until the game tells me to stop. A byproduct I didn't even think about when I started these quests was I'd be getting Driver Nafai's legendary golf club. This was a major upgrade compared to Chance's knife, so it was a welcome surprise. None of the named fiends fared well against the stealth attacks from the Rat Slayer, so in short I got loads of caps and XP, for barely any work. The next quest on my list is Bleed Me Dry for the unique hunting shotgun you get at the end. Little did I know this would be one of, if not the biggest commitment this run. In order to start the quest, you need to talk to Red Lucy in the Thorn, so I did just that. The first thing I had to do was get some mantis eggs from Vault 22, and this wasn't too bad, but it really should have been the end of the quest. The spore carriers could hurt me pretty badly, but my new Golf driver was strong enough to kill them in 1 or 2 hits. The only real trouble was navigating the vault, but I've played enough Fallout to know how to make my way through a ruined vault. The horde of giant mantises couldn't stop me from stealing their eggs, so before long I returned to Lucy to claim my prize. Except now I need gecko eggs. The gecko's cave was very similar to the mantis vault, except with geckos. One brief trot through the gecko's lair, and I have their babies. Surely that was the last eggs I need. Ha! Wrong. Now I need Night Stalker eggs. This was a much bigger step in difficulty than the last, so it was time to run through a Night Stalker infested cave. The stalkers could kill me in seconds, and they seemed to be able to find me regardless of what I did. This, of course, is New Vegas, so the answer was chugging a handful of chems and then using my golf club to batter the mutant coyotes away. This was enough to get me through, and I brought the eggs back to Lucy. This netted me a good Cassadors. I need to catch Cassadors. I'm not going to bore you with the endless clips where I die over and over again, so let's just say it was painful. Very, very painful. Nevertheless, I managed to get the eggs, and it was finally time to get my shotgun. Crap, I need Deathclaw eggs now. Had this been Fallout 4, I would have charged the lizards at Quarry Junction with Chance's knife and a handful of Stimpaks. Sadly, this was not the case, and I failed. Multiple times. I tried every trick I could think of, and every drug in my pocket, but nothing worked. Out of options, I resorted to my last course of action. There was only one somewhat decent set of unique armor in the base game, and I'm not gonna lie, using it is a little cheap. If you help the Van Graffs on Freeside, they will give you a set of combat armor at the start of the quest. Not only is this armor in peak condition, but it is also called the Van Graffs Combat Armor, making it a viable armor set for this run. So I entered the Silver Rush, watched a little animation, and then got my first set of real armor in this challenge. The Van Graffs met a similar fate as Boone, as they too were killed as soon as I got my armor. I also got a plasma rifle, but I never invested a single point in energy weapons, so I never got much use out of it. Something I did notice here was that I couldn't repair the combat armor using traditional methods, but this didn't worry me because I'll always have Major Knight if all else fails. Before trying to get the eggs again, I made sure to grab the Stealth Boy in Goodsprings School to give me the edge. Through trial and error, I was able to use a mixture of the armor and Stealth Boy to first lure the Deathclaws away from their eggs, and then sneak in to grab them. I made sure to grab the light machine gun from the nearby course to use as currency to fuel my ammo addiction. Thankfully, these were the last eggs I needed, and I finally got my prize. To be honest, I was expecting to be disappointed with the gun, seeing as up until this point, each one of my weapons were relatively easy to get. I couldn't have been more wrong. The first victims of Dinner Bell was Red Lucy and her gang, because no one forces me to make a super omelet and lives to talk about it. A single headshot for Lucy and the rest got to experience the shotgun's impressive range firsthand. Not finished testing my new favorite gun, I figured Mr. House would be good for target practice. None of his robots even tried to stop me, so I just waltzed in and shot him without a hitch. Now I was ready to return to the main story, meaning it was time to start meeting the factions for the NCR. First up was the Boomers and Nellis. When I arrived, I killed George for his caps and prepped for the artillery. As far as I know, the best way to survive the bombardment is by hugging the hill to the left and run as fast as possible. I of course didn't remember to do this and instead tried to run straight through the front door, which ended about as well as you'd expect. On my second try, I actually remembered what to do, and made it through with only a couple of broken limbs. This isn't really a concern because there are plenty of beds around the base, so I just continued as planned. I decided to help Raquel with her ant problem first, because it was the simplest. Another benefit for doing this first is that I get to use the unique grenade rifle that's in the building. In case you were wondering, I only used it once, and it was in the building with the ants, which resulted in me being erased from existence. The ants weren't a problem before, so they weren't about to start being one, meaning it's time to grab some parts for Loyal. I did try helping Argyle before I left for Helios 1, but it ended horribly. Despite the fact I passed the speech check that lets you help the patients, I somehow managed to slit one of their throats. There is no way they're letting me within 20 feet of the sick boomers again, so I guess I'm just going to have to help Jack later. I have enough rep with the NCR that they probably would have let me in Helios 1, but I haven't used the Rat Slayer in a little while, making the heads of the soldiers outside look particularly snipeable. After the second NCR massacre of this video, I fixed the solar panels for Loyal and then fixed Jack's love life. I'm pretty sure this quest is there just in case you failed everything else because it couldn't have been simpler. It just involves talking. Lots and lots of talking. And if you know anything about me, you would know I'm not a big talker in video games. Thankfully, finding a girlfriend for one of their elders is the most honorable thing you could do for a boomer, so it was time to raise the bomber. I took a super roundabout route to the bomber so I never got spotted by the crab people, so that was nice. With that, the bomber was floating, and the boomers are now willing to die for me. Next on the NCR's shopping list is to murder one unlucky Elvis impersonator, so bada bing bada boom, Pacer's dead and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put him back together again. I also killed the king while I was here, in case I needed a quick wardrobe change. It was when I turned in this quest I was finally told to go to Hoover Dam, but more importantly I was given access to Quartermaster Bard in stock. The man has more shotgun shells on him than a Fortnite player, so of course I bought every last one of them. Now that Barden has my life savings in his back pocket, I needed a way to earn all my money back. The best way to earn caps in this game isn't actually gambling, but rather it's wiping out an entire faction and selling their gear. Naturally, the Great Khans made the ideal money pinatas, seeing as I was sent to kill them anyways. By now I've taken the Shotgun Surgeon perk, which allows me to ignore 10 points of a target's damage threshold. This means that Dinner Bell plus the Great Khan's light armor equals one hell of a bloodbath. First to go were the Khans in the Longhouse, who went down fairly quickly. The only one that managed to survive more than one shot was some nameless Khan who I could not hit for whatever reason. Clearly the drug abuse had affected the Khans in more ways than they thought, considering there were multiple different occasions where I killed a member right in front of the others, and they didn't react. This of course resulted in the rest of them dying, leaving me considerably richer. You know who else walks around with loads of 12 gauge rounds and expensive weapons? The Omertas. The annoying men in suits actually managed to beat me in one attempt. Other than that, things went smoothly, and just like the Khans before them, the Omertas are now supplying my ammo needs for the foreseeable future. By now I have a decent arsenal of ranged weapons, but it was during the fight with the Omertas that I realized I needed a good melee weapon. I knew exactly what I wanted for a smacking stick, so I ran as fast as I could to Jacobstown. In a nearby cave, you can find what has to be the single best melee weapon in this game, the unique Super Sledge Oh Baby. The Night Stalkers that reside in the cave with the sledge are a little stronger than the ones I fought earlier, but that is mostly due to their stealth capabilities. Unfortunately for them, all coyote-based creatures are equal when faced with a high man and a golf club, and they were swatted away just like their predecessors. After picking up Oh Baby, I made sure to grab the broken stealth boy next to it, because I was trying to get as much XP as possible. I ended up doing the entire quest, and it still was enough to level me up, so I used the mutants of Jacobstown for some more murder XP. Now Oh Baby is a good weapon. Like, a really good weapon. So good, in fact, that I decided it was already time to take the fight to the Legion. I ended up making my way all the way to Cottonwood Cove, and actually found that the legionaries there were a lot stronger than the ones in the fort, purely based off their weapon choices. The group at the cove seemed to favor hunting rifles, which was a vast improvement from the caravan shotguns that greeted me at the fort. None of that mattered, seeing as soon as I got close to them, soldier, dog, and slave got ripped to pieces. Not even the named members of the Legion could save themselves from my onslaught. Even the Ballistic Fist Club in Caesar's tent fell within a couple seconds of swinging. To be fair to them, I did need to down a significant amount of chems in order to survive more than a couple seconds of their punches. I made sure to loot Caesar before I left, so that I had one more outfit in case I needed it. I also activated the Securitrons before I left, for the extra crumb of XP. Destroying the Legion was enough to get me to level up, meaning I was able to boost my science skill to 50. This may not seem that important, but it allows me to get a new gun. Inside Camp McCarran, there is a terminal that belongs to their supplier. If you hack this terminal, you could find out that their supplier is smuggling guns through Camp McCarran, which is bad. Giving this information to a nearby lieutenant finishes the unnamed quest, and awards you with the gun This Machine. Not only is this machine an improvement from my current rifle, but it's also completely unique in the base game. I was now fairly confident that I could take down the Brotherhood, so it was finally time to clean out the bunker for the NCR. I figured that since I had Oh Baby, I would just fight and kill as many members as possible, which had varying results. Although the Brotherhood members themselves are very susceptible to being clobbered to death, their turrets don't share the same weaknesses. I'm sure I'm not the first to tell you, but the turrets at the entrance of the bunker are ridiculously strong. If I were to take a guess on why, it's probably so that if you use them to kill the Brotherhood, they can actually kill them. Either way, I could barely survive getting past them. Eventually, I was able to wipe out everyone on the first floor, allowing me to go downstairs. At no point during this run did I feel more overpowered than in those rooms. Paladin or Knight, it didn't matter, they would end up somewhere on the floor like anyone else when smacked with a rocket hammer. If they tried to run, I just used my shotgun to reduce them to a corpse. Oddly enough, Head Scribe Taggart was the last to die, due to his cowardly behavior. He ended up getting the last laugh when I killed him with my shotgun and he was blasted to a million pieces. I ended up having to sort through various pieces of human to find his keycard. One exploded bunker later, and I'm now even more liked by the NCR. Before returning to Hoover Dam to stop the assassination, I stopped by the 188 trading post to get a few backup super sledges from the NCR heavies, as well as to kill Veronica. After all, you can't leave a job half finished. Returning back to the NCR, I was surprised to find it was already time to defend the president. I'm not gonna lie, I was completely lost for most of this quest. Things don't actually start until the president arrives, so I made sure to talk to Ranger Grant as soon as I was given free will. This is where I pulled the biggest betrayal of the century and put a bullet in the president's head. Or that's what I would have done if the game let me. Although I was never going to use them, I made it my personal goal to get as many of the unique outfits as possible. This means that I needed the president's suit. Unfortunately, no matter what I did, killing the president would always tank my rep with the NCR, putting killing him out of the picture. Now I could have let the Legion sniper kill him instead of me, but let's face it, there's no way I was letting 1000 XP go to waste. Instead, I just used the Rat Slayer to kill the fake engineer rather than the president, and turned the sniper into a pile of meat. I then returned to Colonel Moore, and was finally sent to the Battle of Hoover Dam. As history likes to repeat itself, I was caught completely off guard when I was told it was already time for the final battle. Thankfully, my excessive shopping left me in the position where it was nearly impossible to lose. By the time I was sent to the dam, I had 1,500 5.56 rounds for that gun in the Rat Slayer, 1,308 rounds for this machine, and nearly 2,000 shells for Dinner Bell. To top it all off, I had over 300 slugs for my shotgun, which could kill the strongest legionaries in 2 hits. In simple terms, a lot of the Legion soldiers died, and I do mean a lot. Even the people with anti-material rifles went down before they could do any real damage. When I got to the Legate's camp, I made sure to take down his Praetorians at a range, because although my shotgun could have easily done the job, I don't think I would have lasted long if the entire Legion attacked me with the Legate. As for the fight with Lanius, it went surprisingly smooth. The real trouble was trying to film a clip where it wasn't lagging like a Minecraft server. When I finally managed to enter the fight without glitching halfway across the screen, I started firing as many slugs into his torso before he could smack me with his overglorified butter knife. The slugs built-in armor piercing mixed with shotgun surgeon made my shotgun a devastating weapon against the Legate, and a single clip forced him to retreat to try to heal. This is where the 2010 Pathling took its toll on poor old Lanius, as he walked straight into a nearby wall and refused to move. This made removing the final bits of his health bar a mere inconvenience. The rest of the Legion might as well have been hitting me with BB guns, so the battle obviously ended in my favor. Now you may have noticed during the entire fight with the Legate, I didn't use Oh Baby, and here's why. He didn't last 10 seconds against the thing. After that one-sided beating of a final battle, I talked to General Oliver, finishing the game and proving yes, you can beat Fallout New Vegas with only unique weapons. Well, that was something. I really was expecting this to be a lot harder, which was stupid considering I was only allowed to use the best weapons in the game. I'm not saying it wasn't fun, on the contrary I had a blast. I'm just saying I was expecting it to be a lot harder than it actually was. Now about Starfield. I'm sure a few of you were expecting a Starfield video either today or sooner, but there won't be one, at least not for a little while. As most of you probably already know, Starfield is an Xbox exclusive game, and it'll never come to PlayStation. I myself play on PS4, meaning I don't have access to it. I've tried a number of different things to try to play it in the last week, but nothing worked. I even tried getting the Xbox Game Pass on my laptop, but even that failed. In the end of the day, I would have to upgrade to an Xbox Series S or X, which I don't see happening in a little while. In case you're wondering, this is also why I'm playing the PS3 version of New Vegas. Regardless, that's all I have for today's video. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing, otherwise I'll catch you in the next one.